From now, we will move to the confirmation points and control measure part. This section explains how to diagnose whether chlorination is being performed correctly in daily operation and the necessary action to be taken in case it is not performed in an appropriate manner. In Bangladesh, drinking water standards require residual chlorine levels between 0.2 and 1.0 milligrams per liter throughout the system. Levels exceeding 1.0 milligrams per liter are discouraged because they affect taste and user acceptance. Several key operational points are listed here. 1. Preventive measures must always be taken to avoid accidents. 2. Adequate stock of chlorine must be maintained, and if chlorine supply is disrupted, the treatment process should be stopped temporarily. 3. Chlorine dosage must be measured at different injection points. 4. Residual chlorine must be checked at extreme consumption points to confirm it does not fall below the minimum requirement. 5. If necessary, additional chlorine injection points should be installed within the distribution line. These confirmation points ensure that chlorination is effective not only at the plant but throughout the distribution system. Pre- and intermediate chlorination. What risk will be caused when the pre- and intermediate chlorine does not work properly? The answer is here. Algae growth inside sedimentation and filtration basins is a common operational problem, especially in warm climates. When algae occurs, sedimentation efficiency decreases and filters become clogged more quickly. It is highlighting here what data must be collected to diagnose the situation. There are 3 data necessary for it. First, residual chlorine at the inlet of sedimentation basins should be checked. Second, records should be reviewed to see when algae occurrence was observed. Third, records of cleaning work in sedimentation and filtration basins should be confirmed. Here, confirmation points and actions are provided based on the obtained data. Residual chlorine at the inlet of the sedimentation basin should be more than 0.2 milligrams per liter. This level is necessary to suppress algae growth before it affects sedimentation and filtration. Operators should confirm whether algae is present or not. If algae is found, necessary action and countermeasure should be taken. If the cleaning of the sedimentation and filtration basins are neglected, it should be cleaned, though it goes without mentioning. And if the data do not satisfy those criteria, what action and countermeasures have to be taken? If residual chlorine is insufficient, pre-chlorination or intermediate chlorination dosage should be increased so that at least 0.2 milligrams per liter remains at the sedimentation inlet. A very important point is mentioned. If ammonia is present, chlorine may be consumed before reaching the breakpoint. In this case, even if chlorine is added, residual chlorine may not increase. This indicates the presence of ammonia or other chlorine-reacting substances. In addition to chemical control, physical cleaning of algae is also necessary. Next, post-chlorination. After sedimentation and final chlorination, residual chlorine must be carefully controlled. If the post-chlorination rate is too low, bacteria can remain in the water and create serious health risks. If the rate is too high, users may notice an unpleasant chlorine odor at the tap. The necessary data for the diagnosis is residual chlorine measured at the user's faucet. This is the true indicator of whether chlorination is effective throughout the distribution system. If sampling at the user's faucet is not possible, the outlet of the distribution tank can be used as a substitute sampling point. This approach ensures that evaluation is based on the actual water reaching consumers, not only the water inside the plant. As repeatedly emphasized before, the confirmation point is very clear. Residual chlorine must be maintained between 0.2 and 1.0 milligrams per liter. The value of 0.2 milligrams per liter is the minimum requirement according to Bangladesh drinking water standards. Below this level, disinfection cannot be guaranteed. Above 1.0 milligrams per liter, water quality becomes unpleasant for users. Here are actions and countermeasures. 1. Chlorine injection rate must be adjusted according to the residual chlorine measured at the user's faucet. This ensures that dosage is based on actual distribution conditions rather than assumptions at the plant. 2. Regular water quality monitoring at users' faucets is necessary to confirm that chlorination is sufficient. 3. If distribution pipes and tanks are old or contaminated with water stains and rust, they may consume chlorine. In this case, cleaning of the facilities is required. 4. Maintenance of the chlorine equipment when it comes an issue of malfunction of chlorine injection equipment. If residual chlorine cannot be controlled properly, the equipment should be inspected, adjusted, or repaired. Here are some consideration points on the post-chlorination. 1. Monitoring residual chlorine must cover two important points. One is immediately after treatment at the clear water reservoir. The other is at the user's faucet. 2. Priority should always be given to endpoint monitoring because chlorine is consumed during distribution. Measuring only at the plant does not show the true condition experienced by users. 3. Ideally, multiple monitoring points should be established across the distribution network. However, in reality, several constraints exist. Accessibility to distant locations, transport limitations, local conditions around water users, availability and maintenance of test equipment, staff skill levels, and seasonal or weather factors all affect monitoring capability. These practical constraints must be considered when planning monitoring activities. Next, dosage equipment. Next, dosage equipment. If the injection pump malfunctions, chlorine cannot be properly injected into the water. This directly leads to insufficient disinfection. Two important data points must be checked. First, the flow rate of chlorine solution at the dosing point must be measured. Second, this flow rate should be compared with the pump's specification. If the actual flow does not match the expected value, the pump may require adjustment, maintenance, or repair. Regular confirmation of pump performance is essential to ensure stable chlorination. To confirm whether the injection pump is working properly, the actual flow rate of chlorine solution at the dosing point must be measured and compared with the pump's specification. The flow meter is usually installed at the dosing point, but this value alone is not sufficient since it needs calibration. The recommended method for the manual calibration is to use a measuring cylinder and a stopwatch. Chlorine solution is collected for a specific time, and the flow rate is calculated from the volume and time. After measurement, the result must be compared with the pump specification. This comparison reveals whether the pump is delivering the correct amount of chlorine. A trouble case is especially where the actual flow rate is lower than the related flow rate. If the actual flow rate does not match the designed level, there can be several possible causes, and you can consider action and countermeasures. 1. Removing the clogging in the pipes by flushing them off, scraping the inside with a brush. 2. The diaphragm may be damaged and require replacement. 3. The piston shaft may also be worn or damaged, then replacing it can improve the flow rate. Since gas chlorination requires much more complicated system than liquid and powder form, we introduce the gas chlorination part. For gas chlorine systems, similar confirmation is required. If the gas injection equipment malfunctions, chlorine cannot be injected into the water. Necessary data for the diagnosis is the injection rate at the chlorine gas dosing point. It must be checked against the specified value. A flow meter is usually attached to the gas pipe, but again, this value must be verified. And similar to the previous explanation, a trouble case is where the actual flow rate is lower than the related flow rate. As per the action and countermeasures, if the actual injection rate is lower than expected, the most common cause is clogging inside the dosing pipes. Chlorine gas systems use thin pipes that can easily become blocked. In this case, the equipment must be disassembled and cleaned. Removing these clogs restores proper chlorine injection. Now, we go on the troubleshooting and inspection. Even with proper understanding of each treatment unit, problems will occur in daily operation. This table shows how to use all the knowledge explained earlier when an actual problem appears in the chlorination. Up to this point, important points of the chlorination was explained separately, together with basic theory and confirmation points and control measures. And these points are converted in one table of troubleshooting, so that you can identify what caused the problem and the necessary actions to taken from the phenomenon you observed in the chlorination. How to read the table? This table is utilized when you see some specific phenomenon, so, first, check the phenomenon column to see what phenomenon is identified as a problem. Then consider the possible causes. Understand the risk if the problem continues. Finally, select the correct countermeasure. For example, if you observe the occurrence of algae, it could be caused by shortage of chlorine injection. And the troubleshooting table guides you for the necessary action to take. In this case, you have to remove algae and increase chlorine injection rate at pre- or intermediate chlorine. This is how what we learned in the confirmation points and necessary actions can be quickly applied by referring to troubleshooting table. This is an inspection sheet introduced in the manual. An inspection sheet shows what data should be recorded routinely for the purpose of appropriate operation and maintenance. Each item listed here corresponds directly to the confirmation points explained earlier. By checking these regularly, you can detect abnormalities before they become serious enough to affect water quality, or identify the problem caused and will contribute to take quick actions for countermeasures. For your better comprehension and practical usage of the knowledge obtained from the manual, we are going to tackle with case study from now. Let's think about an imaginary Poroshova in this case study. The Poroshova has a population of 50,000. It uses deep groundwater for the water resource, which is containing arsenic at 0.05 milligrams per liter and iron at 2 milligrams per liter. The treatment process includes pumping, pre-chlorination, aeration, sedimentation, rapid sand filtration, post-chlorination, and distribution. The current situation is that pre-chlorination is mainly used to control algae and organic matter. Aeration supports iron oxidation and pre-chlorination is supplement for oxidizing arsenic and iron. Residual chlorine at the user's tap is often below 0.2 milligrams per liter. The plant operates with limited budget and manpower. To solve the problems, where should we start to think? Here is a guidance for you. The first step is to identify the problem clearly. If pre-chlorination is insufficient, algae may occur and chlorine-reacting substances may increase. And the next question is whether post-chlorination is sufficient to maintain residual chlorine at the user's faucet. Operators must check whether the required standards are met. Then, necessary data must be defined. This includes where chlorine is being consumed and how to confirm that the dosing rate matches system demand. This case encourages systematic thinking using the principles explained earlier. After identifying the problem and necessary data, the next step is to define criteria for judging performance. You must know the threshold values that indicate proper or improper operation by referring to the manual. Then, they should plan practical interventions. What actions can be taken immediately at the site by Poroshova staff? What type of support can DPHE provide? From here, I am providing some ideas for solving the problems. There are some aspects on the potential and existing problems. 1. Without sufficient pre-chlorination, algae can grow in the system, increasing organic matter and chlorine demand before disinfection. 2. At the same time, residual chlorine at the user's faucet is below 0.2 milligrams per liter, which indicates that chlorine is being consumed before reaching the endpoints. To address this, specific data can be the hits to diagnose the situation and find solutions. 1. Residual chlorine must be measured at the sedimentation tank, at the clear water reservoir, and at the user's faucet. 2. Flow rates must be checked to confirm pump calibration and injection rates. 3. Equipment calibration status must also be verified. These data allow operators to identify where chlorine is being lost and whether dosing equipment is functioning correctly. Clear criteria for the data are listed here. 1. Pre-chlorination should maintain residual chlorine above 0.2 mg per liter. 2. Post-chlorination must also maintain residual chlorine between 0.2 and 1.0 mg per liter at the user's faucet. 3. Chlorine dosing rates must match calculated demand based on raw water quality and distribution conditions. 4. Pump flow rates must match manufacturer specifications. Based on those analyses, several interventions are suggested. 1. Review Poroshova's residual chlorine measurement records at the distribution reservoir and at the user's faucet, and add midpoint checks if possible. When the chlorine loss between the reservoir and endpoints is unusually large, it should be highlighted as a sign of possible pipe-related chlorine demand or a dosing mismatch with the network. 2. Measure ammonia in the raw water. Because ammonia can significantly increase chlorine demand, the measured ammonia value should be used to refine the estimate of the required dosing rate. 3. Build practical evidence on the relationship between post-chlorination dosing and residual chlorine at the tap. By comparing dosing adjustments with tap-end residual measurements, Porsche can receive clear feedback on an optimized dosing range that meets the standard without causing odor complaints. 4. Guide local staff so that they can verify the actual dosing pump flow rate using a measuring cylinder and stopwatch and compare it with pump specifications. 5. If resources are limited, DPHE support can include supplying DPD test kits and assisting with small-scale funding for replacing outdated dosing equipment or procuring critical spare parts. I hope you have obtained clearer images and understanding for the intervention to Porsche water supply system in terms of the chlorine through this case study. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching and I hope this video will help you understand the manual better.